Excellencies, Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama of the People's National Convention, Mr. Jacob Oseyabwa, an independent candidate, Dr. Papakwesi Idum of the Progressive People's Party. May we please be upstanding, remain upstanding for the national anthem of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you very much. We shall remain upstanding as we welcome and invite Bishop Bonaventure Kofi, the Catholic Bishop of Western Region, to deliver the opening prayer.
Father, God of the universe, we thank and praise you for this nation. We thank and praise you for its past and present leaders, and for every citizen, for what you have permitted each person to contribute to the making of this great nation. You, throughout history, have called and elected leaders to lead your people in order to bring them to you, to the place where you want them to be. And even in our own time, you have not ceased to perform this marvel. We thank and praise you for this splendid opportunity you have so fashioned in your own bounty and given us. You have gathered us here in your incomprehensible design and mysterious providence to listen to you, speak to us through these men, our brothers and leaders, about opportunities and challenges that lie in our future. Lord, we humbly bow before you and ask you
agreed to be here in person to address the concerns of the electorate. We applaud you for putting the concerns of the citizens at the heart of your campaign. Distinguished guests, since the year 2000, the IEA has organized presidential debates ahead of every election. This year's presidential town hall marks the 5th time the IEA is hosting this democracy-enhancing event. The policies to be pursued by the winner of this year's election will have profound implications for the whole country as we journey towards our common future. Therefore, this town hall has been designed to provide a platform for presidential candidates to present their vision of governance to the electorate and answer questions of concern to them. Importantly, the town hall format also affords the electorate, including key stakeholders represented here tonight, an opportunity to ask candidates probing questions. Distinguished guests, whilst credible elections are an integral part of any democracy, political engagement that enables the electorate to engage with presidential candidates and to receive answers on issues of concern to them is essential. In fact, democracy is truly exercised when the electorate is empowered to make an informed choice on election day. Distinguished guests, the theme we have carefully chosen for the presidential town hall this year is reinforcing the pillars of Ghana's democracy. As with the themes of our previous debates, this is a reflection of the stage of our democracy. Indeed, we observe the need for a collective return to the core underpinnings of good governance, a need to reinforce the foundations that maintain our democratic process. As a nation, we need to recommit ourselves to those processes that establish accountability between the electorate and the aspirant. This reflects the consistent underlying theme of the Institute's debates over the past 16 years, that those who wish to govern must subject themselves to probing questions by the people to ensure that they understand their concerns and have the capacity to address them. On its part, the IEA will continue to work tirelessly to provide a neutral platform for the healthy contest of ideas. Overall, we hope that the presidential town hall will help refocus our elections on issues rather than on personalities. Before I take my seat, I wish to acknowledge our partners who have supported us to make this presidential town hall possible. We place on record our gratitude to Star Ghana and its partners, the Open Society for West Africa, the Center for International Private Enterprise, Ford Foundation, and UNICEF. We also thank our media partners, the Multimedia Group, Metro TV, and Facebook for their effort and support that has made it possible for Ghanaians all over the world to tune in and watch these debates. Once again, I warmly welcome all of you to the second presidential town hall for 2016. I wish each of our distinguished candidates the best of this platform. May God continue to bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jane Mensah, Executive Director of the Institute of Economic Affairs. May I now respectfully call on Professor Justice Ikuya Kwenyehia, the Chairman of the IEA 2016 Presidential Debates Committee, to deliver brief remarks.
Distinguished presidential aspirants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Presidential Debates Committee of the Institute of Economic Affairs, I welcome you to the second IEA Presidential Town Hall in Takoradi in the Western region. The first Presidential Town Hall was held successfully in Accra last week and was viewed by millions of people in Ghana and abroad. The feedback we have received to date has been very encouraging, and we applaud the presidential candidates for once again
taking time off their busy schedule to address the concerns of the electorate. Distinguished guests, the presidential town halls provide a joint platform for candidates to engage with citizens and with each other. This platform and the process that it sets in motion of accountability of political leadership to citizens is critical to the protection of democracy and the rule of law. This is especially so with this year's elections, where we observe some slip in attention to a fundamental pillar of the nation's democratic development, namely accountability to the electorate by presidential candidates. We observe this in the delays in submission of political party manifestos for public scrutiny and challenges we experience in seeking to schedule evening encounters and presidential debates with a number of the presidential candidates. We are aware that presidential candidates are engaging with the electorate on their campaign trails, and we expect that they will hold themselves accountable to the assurances they make on those platforms. However, it is critical that beyond political party platforms, candidates present themselves on public national platforms where all citizens from all political leanings hear them and engage with them. This we believe will enable citizens to make informed electoral choices on election day. I wish here to echo the words of the IEA in saying that while credible elections form an integral part of any democracy, political engagement that enables the electorate to make informed choices on candidates and subsequently hold them accountable are essential in this process. Democracy is indeed truly exercised when the electorate is knowledgeable and informed. As citizens with a common destiny, we must require accountability from those who seek to govern us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Presidential Debates Committee comprises leaders of various interest groups in Ghana. You will find the names of the members of this year's committee in your brochure. The committee's role was to provide guidance to the Institute in the conduct of the presidential town halls. The committee worked with the IEA Secretariat to identify the moderator for the town halls, develop thematic areas, and select questions from the numerous feedback received from the public, among other duties. We trust that the presidential town halls will provide our presidential candidates with a national platform on which to engage with you, the electorate, and with each other in a competitive but healthy and constructive manner. I wish each of the presidential candidates the best on this platform. Thank you.
Justice Equia Kwenyehia, the chairman of the IEA 2016 Presidential Debates Committee. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for your information, the IEA 2016 Presidential Town Hall is under the theme, Reinforcing the Pillars of Ghana's Democracy, as you may have heard already. This Presidential Town Hall will focus on governance, good governance for that matter, the social sector, foreign policy, criminal justice, and leadership. I will now spell out the rules and guidelines for tonight's event. To our extreme left, Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama, followed by Mr. Jacob Osei Yeboah and Dr. Papa Kwesi Indu. Each candidate will have exactly 3 minutes to introduce himself. There will be one segment. This presidential town hall will feature questions from both the moderator and the selected civil society organizations. All questions posed will be answered by all the presidential candidates. The questions will be answered in the order of seating, starting from Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama. The selected CSOs and the moderator will ask each question in 30 seconds. Each candidate will have exactly 3 minutes to answer a question. The moderator will have the option of posing follow-up questions, and candidates will have 1 minute to respond to follow-up questions. At the end of the event, Each presidential candidate shall have 3 minutes to make closing remarks. During the entire event, each presidential candidate has 3 opportunities for a rebuttal, which will be made within 1 minute. There are 2 timers. One is facing the presidential candidate, and the other facing the moderator and the audience. There should be no applause or noise making of approval or disapproval during the entire event, except at the end of each round. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would have to repeat that point. There should be no applause or noise making of approval or disapproval during this entire event, except at the end of each round. At this point, all mobile phones should be turned off. I repeat, all mobile phones should be turned off. At no time should the audience take photographs, as this will affect the lighting in the hall. The security can ask persons who do not conform to these rules I have just read out to leave the hall. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will now hand over to our moderator for tonight's Town Hall, Mr. Samson Ladi Ayenine. I wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second and final leg of the IEA 2016 Presidential Town Hall. I'm Samson Ladi Ayenine, your moderator for tonight's events. We are here at the Best Western Plus Atlantic Hotel in Takoradi, and we're grateful to our partners Metro Television, Multi TV, Joy FM, Joy TV, TV3, First Digital, and TV Africa. The event can also be watched on the official IEA Facebook page as well as YouTube, and this is powered by KNet. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with this evening's interaction, which focuses on good governance, leadership, the social sector, criminal justice, foreign policy, among others. I want to once again welcome the distinguished presidential candidates to this debate. The first question will be really an introduction of yourselves, but this is how I would like for us to know how you want to introduce yourself. First, with Dr. Edward Nasegri Mahama. You have been speaking about a new deal. Where do you stand in that new deal? Who are you?
Good evening, Mrs. Jean Mensa, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm Edward Nasegri Mahama, a gynecologist by profession, who, on arriving back from the United States, found that the leadership of my country left many things undesirable. For example, in 15 years in the United States, I had 1 patient to die in the ward where I worked. But here, on one night, I had 7 patients out of 53 deliveries to die. That pushed me into politics because there was a government policy of cash and carry, meaning that if a patient arrived and didn't have money, even taking a common blood sample for examination was not done. This was a political decision. The doctors had nothing to do with it. And this sort of meant that my country was not going in the right direction. And so I thought getting involved in politics was the way to go. This is my 5th time. I believe and have a passion for Ghana. I know Ghanaians as individuals are very, very gifted, very, very talented, very, very entrepreneurial. And when they go abroad, they succeed. We have Kofi Annan for an example. then how come in our own country, with all the resources we haven't been able to do anything? This is my driving force for being in politics, because I believe that the level of development is far below our God-given potential, given the fact that we are a land of gold, diamond, bauxite, manganese, cocoa, and now oil. So I'm in this politics believing that leadership is what we need. What kind of leadership? Leadership by example, leadership of integrity, leadership of honesty, leadership that recognizes that the resources of Ghana, the president of Ghana is a steward. They are not his personal property to use for whatever he wants to do. I've seen that distinguishing stewardship from ownership is a very poor thing in Ghana. I'm in this for the 5th time to tell Ghanaians that you have somebody who can be a good steward of your gold, your diamond, your bauxite, your oil. Look no further. Look to Edward Nasir Mahama for that leadership.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, what do you desire Ghanaians would hold sacred and be thankful to you for? Because you say John Raskin is your motivator, and he says that, therefore, when we build, let us think that we build forever. Let it not be for the present delight, nor for present use alone. Let it be such work as our descendants will thank us for, and let us think as we lay stone on stone that a time is to come when these stones will be held sacred.
Because our hands have touched them, and that's our descendants will say, see, this our fathers did for us. Good evening, Ghana, and good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jacob Osei-Yeboah. I'm an electrical engineer by profession, and I'm someone that I strongly believe that my umbilical cord was cut with leadership. And I am indeed the voice of change, not only in Ghana but on Africa. Because Ghana and our continent, Africa, has been saddled with tested and untested democratic constructs. And so far as I'm concerned, the partisan politics by itself is a problem. And I strongly believe that the leadership is there to lead and to solve problems. And that is why I am standing as the independent presidential candidate. I strongly believe that in a multi-ethnic society, we need a leadership solution that can bring cohesion to us, not that which will continually polarize us as one people. That when we see each other, we tend to dislike and hate one another. We started practicing this democracy during this Fourth Republic. It's almost 20 years now. The nation is getting worse. It means that there's something fundamentally wrong with this democracy. And for that matter, there's the need for us to do away with the unreflective possibility that no, democracy is about political parties alone. No. We need to have our own democratic construct as Africans, because our color is different from the rest. God knows the reason why He's positioned here, He's positioned us here at the center of the world. There is a purpose. Let us assume our identity so that we, together with the rest of the world, will make the world a better place. When Obama came here, he said that what is going to happen in the world is not that which is going to happen in Moscow alone, or Rome, or Washington, but that which is going to happen here in Accra. There's something that is about to happen, and let us as a nation begin to think as to where this democracy is leading us to. is leading us to our own self-destruction. And everywhere that is being practiced, after 20 years, it brings distraction. That is why these politicians are bringing in guns, because that is not what God has given us, and that is what I stand for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum, you are very accomplished, giving hope to many families and homes by the very many jobs you have created and are creating. What else do you seek? Tell us about Dr. Papa Kwesi Indum.
Well, my fellow Ghanaians, by the grace of God, Papa Kwesi Indum from Elmina, which is not too far from here. I have had an education, and through hard work, been able to create thousands of jobs in the private sector, and also with opportunity given to me in the public sector, serve this country with visible positive results as Economic Planning Minister, Energy and Public Sector Reform. And with this experience, I am asking Ghanaians to give me the opportunity to put it to work, to put it to use, so that millions of Ghanaians can benefit. And I take this all from my faith. My faith as a Catholic, as a Christian, tells me that if God has blessed me and I've gotten many benefits, what is left for me to do is to make sure that somebody's child, somebody's husband, somebody's wife, somebody's brother or sister also gets the same opportunities that I got, but perhaps a little bit more easier than I got mine. And I want to say that I appreciate the opportunity given to me by the IEA and its partners to be here, because it's important that we tell Ghanaians, those of us who want to lead, why we want to lead, and have them examine us. And so I am disappointed that some people were invited but chose not to be here. Because and I want Ghanaians to understand that those who refuse to be examined do not deserve your votes. And indeed, it is Plato who has said something, that an unexamined life is not worth living. And it is important that we all understand those kinds of things, because there's no bigger presidential candidates and smaller presidential candidates. And that disappointment for me needs to register to each and everyone in this country. Now, let me bring it back to my local language, fancy. One kwe impo from one woman. That's all kwe. And it is important that we should say that, look, at the end of this session, I'm hoping that I would have shown to Ghanaians why the PPP has the best policy on social services, on foreign service, on criminal justice, and has the best commitment to incorruptible leadership and offers the best approach to governance. Because we want to unite the country and make this place a better place. That is why I am seeking the opportunity in the number 4 position and in the KK cloth to be the next president of this republic.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we shall get to the questions that you will have to address to your potential voters. And you ended on the note of leadership. And they say leadership is cause, everything else is effect. We will ask questions about health, about education, about housing. But let's start with leadership. Ghana today is divided along political lines, and this division is getting bitter by the day, you will acknowledge. If this is not checked or managed, it could lead our nation into serious problems. What would you do differently to solve this problem? Dr. Edward Mahama.
What I would do is what I have started doing. I have said in our campaign team that the theme is new beginning, new deal, new force. This new force I have likened to atomic reactor versus atomic bomb. The new force, I consider our young people, 18 to 35-year-old, as atoms. When you put atoms together in a particular way, you get an atomic bomb. And when you drop it, you kill people, you destroy houses. Go and ask the Japanese on Hiroshima. On the other hand, the same atoms put in another way produces atomic reactor, which produces energy, so you don't have doomsday. That's what Nkrumah wanted to do with atomic you hear about in Accra. He wanted to build an atomic reactor. Our young people, I liken them to atoms because atoms have potential. Our young people, they have the potential to be creative, the potential to be productive, the potential to initiate. And yet, they haven't been given this opportunity by we, the adults. And we have made the situation worse. When I went to Legon as a medical student, in Legon Hall, Nana Akufo-Addo, I had one room to myself, he had one room to himself. Now my son, the son of a gynecologist, American trained, goes to the Stanford University, he has to share the room I had to myself with 5 or 6 other students. So I asked myself, my father, the illiterate, and I, who has done better for his son? Obviously, my father did better for me because I haven't been able to provide the same for the subsequent generations. So basically, yes, this leadership issue that we're talking about and the new force, we're saying that we'll mobilize these young people into a force for production, for creating prosperity, and we are doing that by organizing them in cell groups. Cell groups. Sometimes I have somebody, a young person, who has established himself to come and talk to them. In other words, mentoring them. And this is an area where I think our institutions, especially schools, have failed us. The unemployment, the high unemployment, is because our schools have not been able to relate education to industry, to business. Our schools have not been able to provide counselors to counsel our young people. So I'm going to provide in every JSS, every SS, every tertiary institution, counselors who will counsel the young people and lead them to link what they are doing in school with future job employment. This is something that I think we need to do.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, it is very obvious that in Ghana today, the problem we're talking about is manifest. A businessman must associate himself or herself with one political party or the other, particularly the party in government, or they'll get out of business. How will you solve this problem differently?
Thank you very much. It's all because of, first and foremost, this kind of democracy that we are practicing. And also because of the fact that we have weaker institutions. And more so, these political parties are assuming a stature of lawlessness. Because by its construct, the leadership of political parties by themselves are part of the problem. But leaders are supposed to solve problems. Now, with this partisanship that we have, looking at our multi-ethnic society, ethnicity by itself is a latent polarization. And then when you have partisan politics, it's just like having a fuel. Ethnicity is just like a fuel. And the partisan politics is just like matches. When it comes together, boom, it explodes. Now, by this division, it's very, very difficult for us as a nation to move forward without this kind of distraction. Now, because of these weaker institutions, despite the fact that it's the businessman that has the foundation in stabilizing the economy and the political system, the political parties by themselves and because of the weaker institution tends to do whatever thing that they like. And because of that, instead of creating economy, they tend to rather destroy by attacking businesses. And sometimes these political parties say that they have ideologies. And what do you want the businessman to be, to position himself in these sort of ideologies? And that makes it very difficult. It means that, to me, just as I've always maintained, that these ideologies of these political parties do not make much sense to me. I strongly believe that do that which is appropriate for your people without thinking otherwise. And this is constantly continuing in our society, and there's no solution. The solution is that we come back together as one people, see ourselves, and then try to resolve the problems ahead of us. And that is why I normally say that we have a national strategy, in the sense that instead of we thinking of how to transform these natural resources that God has given us, industrializing each one of them, we tend to rather concentrate on where we are coming from. And despite the fact that good ideas might be coming from different contexts, we tend to say that it's not coming from our parties, and therefore it becomes very difficult for us to move forward. This system by itself, to me, is not going to help us. We need the independent presidential system to bring us together so that we can reason and right. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Papakosi Indum, within a very short period, you have founded and built a party that is rubbing shoulders with established ones. Money plays a critical role in this. You need and you must be funded by deep pockets. How will you, if you win, be able to divest yourself of these interests in seeking to solve the problem we are talking about now?
Somewhere in the Holy Bible it says, by their deeds you shall know them. So I can only go by my experience. What is it that I've been able to do practically, and in any sphere of life in our society? And I believe that in many of the things that I have done, tribalism doesn't come in. Because you come to our group of companies, you will find that if it's a bank, it's somebody from the north. If it is one of the television organizations, we have the manager is from the Volta region. So we have all of Ghana together, all brought together by one principle. That is the best person we can find, without regard to where they come from in this country, which religion they belong to, or even which political party they have supported. What I have been able to do successfully in the private life, even for profit, I believe can translate and can work very, very well, very effectively for profit for the millions and millions of Ghanaians. And so, for me, inclusivity, once again, practical experience. There aren't many politicians in Ghana today who can say that they served an administration that was led and that was formed by a political party that sometimes was diametrically opposed to their own political party. So I served. Didn't go and serve the MPP. I served the people of the Republic of Ghana with all the talent and experience and everything that I had, and there are positive results to show for it. So I've lived inclusiveness. Others can talk about it. I have lived it practically, and I know it works. And so what works is what I will do when I become the next president of the Republic of Ghana. So my answer to you is what I know works. Inclusiveness, using the best talent available, making sure that whoever can get the work done and do it now for Ghana to get the best results, that's the person who will bring around the table. That is what we have done, that so many people find amazing, that how do these people, how does this group Indom, how does it become what it is? Just simply by gathering the best talent available. And for me, that is the best solution.
Thank you. Yes, you have that opportunity, and it takes you a minute. Yes, let's hear you.
let me make this clarification. There's a leadership caveat. Leadership is not about the past. It's about the future. It's about the problems which lies ahead, and that is why we call it leadership. Your past experience sometimes might help you, but that does not necessarily mean that the problems ahead could be solved. And I think my colleague can bear with me how he was disqualified by the EC. If it had been in the business field, he would have gone on successfully. But in the political field, it calls for another kind of leadership. And so leadership is not about the age. It's not about how one looks. It's about what God has invested in the person and what life experience has touched the person and what the situation calls for. And that is what we must look for. Other than that, nobody can challenge President Mahama because he has done something. Thank you.
Thank you. You also have the opportunity of a rebuttal. 1 minute.
With all due respect, I don't believe my colleague here knows what he's talking about. Nobody disqualified me because of something wrong that I did. It was a calculated, deliberate attempt to remove me from the playing field. So let him not go there. Because, and we don't want to talk about the EC here, that's not why we are here. But it is important, when you go and apply for a job, why do they bother asking you what you've done before? What your experiences, what your relationships have been? Why do they bother to go and get references? So what you have done is important, and then precisely it is because of what President John Dramani Mahama has not been able to do. That is why I'm sitting here, so that what he has mismanaged, I can put right. So your experience determines where you're going to go in the future.
Thank you very much. And please do keep in mind that you have the opportunity of 3 rebuttals in the segment. And thank you once again. Now, we will move to the area of governance before we come to housing, healthcare, because all of these are tied to leadership. How you're able to do well in providing good leadership will tell how you're able to do for all of these other segments. Shall we take a question from Mr. Emmanuel Kwao? Mr. Emmanuel Kwao is with the Das Gift Quality Foundation, and he has a question for you on governance.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My question rather comes on the social sector. And I'm asking our dear presidential candidates, what practical and effective measures do they have to address the financial leakages that have been associated with some district assemblies, so that at the end of the day, they would have the required resources for social enterprises, or in other words, NGOs, to partner them to address the numerous challenges that our communities are facing. Because we know that the communities, the rural communities, are the primary producers of this nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that goes to Dr. Papakwesi Indu.
Well, thank you very much for the question. And again, among many of the candidates here, probably the only one who has served as an elected member of a district assembly. And so I don't want to talk about financial leakages. Let us be clear, it's stealing. It is stealing. And when you steal, you must know that there are negative consequences. And because there have not been negative consequences to stealing from the public purse, people continue to do it. And where should we set the example? That example must come at the very top. And so the people look at what is happening in Accra. At the executive level, the people steal our money. They mismanage our monies. They waste our funds. They give them to their friends and associates, and nothing happens to them. And so what we need to do is to fix the problem at the very, very top. So it will start with me as the President of the Republic to hold people accountable. And I'm not talking about political opponents. I'm talking about if somebody works with me and steals, well, we will set him out there for him or her to face the rigors of the law so that it becomes an example for everybody. Because the rules are already there. It is not as if we don't have rules, we don't have the regulations. We just need someone courageous enough, someone who can live with the mark of incorruptibility to say, you do this wrong, we punish you. So let's call it what it is. So that's the first thing that we need to do. Call it stealing. Let everybody know that it comes with a black mark or a negative mark. And let us make sure that there's leadership bold enough to discipline their own. And then everybody else will know that that is what will happen. And as we're talking about that, my party has talked about separating the role of Minister of Justice from that of the Attorney General, so we can have an independent prosecutor, so that if you're sitting around the table, you're not going to say that, my friend did this, I overlook it. My party member did that, I overlook it. An independent prosecutor, so that anybody does anything wrong, they steal our money, we hold them accountable. And I have said it many places, that if anybody today, as we sit here, has stolen our money, has been given funds illegally, and you know who you are, on December 7th, when the votes are cast, the votes are counted, and Papa Kwesindom's hand is raised as the president, please start bringing the money. Because we'll come after you. We'll come after you, and you will pay. We'll get our monies back, or you will lose your freedom.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osayebwa, how will you plug the loopholes in the district assembly, at the district assembly level, financial?
Thank you very much. In our foundation policy, we've stated that what we will do is what we call pre-auditing. You see, it's very important for us to prevent than to cure. Now, as a nation, we know what is happening with Wyoming, so it's better for us to prevent. And so what we have stated in our policy is that we're going to ensure that each of these assemblies has a member from the Auditor General's office with them who will have to sign. And that officer will be held accountable for the money that will go out there. By so doing, we'll be preventing it. Rather than, because we've been hearing more often than not, these monies, we are told, are the park of Parliament. And we don't know how they continue to chase that. So that is what we're going to do in order to prevent this form of leakages. The other important thing is how to ensure that decentralization is actually practiced, together with that kind of the needed autonomy and the support that the district assemblies need in order to function properly. The other most important thing is how, as a government, we'll be able to lead the district assemblies to be independent by creating wealth because of the very area that it finds itself based on the available natural resources over there, whereby it's not going to be the central government that will be bringing in investment, but will encourage the DCAs supported by the central government to negotiate for businesses that will come within their districts. And to me, I think that this will rather help create wealth and ensure that most of these monies do not get to wrong hands. That is how we go about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Edward Mahama.
Thank you. I think that district assembly level, the leakages as he calls them, local government level, at any level, that's corruption. And I have said that I want to be the David of Ghana, to fight the Goliath of Ghana, which is corruption. In addition to having an independent prosecutor, one thing that can be done and will be done by me is the Whistleblowers Act, which will allow people who have evidence of corruption to come forward, not only for us to retrieve the money, but they will also get some of it. Because when you try to prosecute people with corruption. And if you read the Auditor General's report, you will see it. It's there all the time. The incentive for people to step forward and say, this is what I know, this is what happened, is not there. So if you put in the Whistleblowers Act, and you also give them something within that act, that is, if we, for example, recover 1 million Ghana cedis, you have 10% of it. That's what they give for the bribe anyway. So you'll see that a lot of money will come back into the coffers. And also, then you have to be sure that the auditor report, the Auditor General's report, doesn't sit on the shelves. I haven't seen any government effectively and conscientiously do anything about the Auditor General's report. And I myself, as a candidate, have seen where they said there was a school built, and you go there and there are only blocks or stones, the roofing sheets. The school has not been built. He talked about auditing before spending the money. It may help, but I think the one thing that I've noticed, and if you go to AES, they will tell you, sometimes you need as much as 110 signatures on a contract before the money is paid. And everybody say, do something, meaning, give me some money before I sign my portion. I will hang the whole thing on one man's neck and say, either you do it correctly or you go. When you have multiplicity of signatories, you don't know where the problem is. So, when I'm made president, it means that the buck stops here. And when I appoint you, I'm also going to say the buck stops at your table. If anything happens beneath you, you get clobbered for it. I think in Tanzania or somewhere in East Africa, a president came and things straightened up because he was bold enough to hold people accountable, and then things started straightening up. So that's what we need to do. I'm offering myself as the David of Ghana to fight the Goliath of Ghana, which is corruption. I'm telling you, it will be done with such sincerity, everybody will see it.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osayabwa.
Let me make this clarification. The root cause of corruption is this partisan politics that we are practicing. We are practicing expensive democracy from a poor country. And so whenever we talk about corruption, it's not about dipping our monies. If you are a leader of a political party and you do not meet the political party's law, that marks the beginning of corruption. Because you want to offer yourself to Ghanaians. Meanwhile, the very constitution that all powers of the individual comes from, you are not respecting that. It means that you yourself, you are in a position of being corrupted. And for that matter, let's think about what we are doing as a people. The most important thing is for us to have stronger institutions and systems that can check this corruption. And that is what Obama said. And that is why we are saying we'll bring the National Electronic Data Infrastructure.
The Executive Secretary of the United CEOs of Nzema District, Axim, is going to ask the next question, and you, Mr. Jacob Osayebwa, will respond to it first. Let's see if that question, the answer to that question, is part of what you need to strengthen the system and plug the leakages that we are talking about. Let's hear Michael Kwao Nyako.
As he said, my name is Michael Yako. I'm working with an NGO based in Axim. My question is, Ghanaians have embraced the election of MMDCs. Ghanaians have all embraced that concept. Now, what is left is a practical world to make it work. In a situation that an MMDC appointed by the president finds himself working for the party, and sometimes the DC or the MDC, the MC or the municipal chief executive for that matter finds himself in a situation that a foot soldier of a political party, of your own party, knows somebody higher up in your party, that foot soldier can even control you. Because if you don't obey what he's saying, then he's going to report you to your next minister, and the next few hours you have been dismissed by the president. Okay. This is a worrying situation that Ghanaians find ourselves. And so we are advocating that DCs should be elected by the people that we are going to govern.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Jacob Osayebwa, will you, if you want, make the office of the MMDCEs elective?
It's actually inside my book that I launched in 2012. But what I stated over there is that I believe in all inclusiveness, and that is why I say that we need the input of our religious leaders, our traditional leaders, and the business community. What I suggested in my book was that, as Ghana, what we need is, we'll ask these bodies, they are within the communities or that district, and then they can select 3 people, so that out of these 3 people, I, the president, will choose one of them. By so doing, that DC will respect these authorities, knowing that they have an input of his position, not that this situation whereby they think that it's coming from their president and they want to do anything. And by so doing, it can also solve the problem that somebody with a political affiliation can report such a person to a higher authority.
But what you're saying is not different from what exists. The traditional leaders and other community leaders already have a hand in who becomes a DCE. That's what prevails.
You see, the president, the leader, this time around has a lot of say. They make the appointment. But what I'm saying is that they can come out with 3 people. And out of these 3 people, then the leader can make a choice. We need to understand one thing. The DCE and then the leader, the president, they must have something in common. Indeed, it is true that the DCE must operate from principles for which the DCEs could be held accountable to. This is another form of ensuring that we maintain that line of respect. We know what is happening these days. The DCEs do not respect these traditional leaders and then the religious leaders because they think that the appointment is coming from the president. And that is that is the solution that I have for.
Thank you. So in effect, you make it an elective office. You will not make it an elective office. You make some people choose, and then you, the president, will pick 1 out of 3.
Definitely.
Right. Dr. Edward Mahawa, how do you respond to that question? And please take note that the Constitution Review Commission, Ghana spent $6.7 million. The overwhelming majority of Ghanaians said they wanted the DCEs to be elected. The commission recommended the election. The government issued a white paper. And in that white paper, for example, they said for the Metropolitan Chief Executive, the president will pick 5 people. The Public Services Commission will vet them and reduce the number to 3. And then those 3 will be put forward to the people for election. Where do you stand?
Since 2004, the PNC manifesto has held that these people are responsible to the people they serve. They should be elected. And I know when MPP was in opposition with us before 2000, they said they went along with it. Then they got the power and they didn't. When NDC came into opposition after MPP took over, they were with PNC on electing the DCEs. But when they got into power, they didn't do it. Everybody knows what needs to be done. It's a matter of who will bear the cat. Edward Nasidri Mahama is ready to bear the cat. They must be elected. You know, the issue is that the district local government system is somewhat different from what we run at the national level. The DCs are supposed not to be, the assemblies, the elections are supposed not to be partisan, but we know they are. So I think I want to go along with the review committee's report because I participated and I gave my views on it, that the the assembly members should also be elected, and the DCE should also be elected. If we want to practice democracy, let's practice it throughout the whole system. This current way, where the president selects, I've seen people bribe for that position. It's no joke. Plenty money to come and get it. Because why? When they get there and they are DCE, all the contracts, some of them have formed companies, their own companies in the name of somebody, and all the contracts are going to them. This is crazy. That's why we can't stop corruption. They must be elected so that if they don't perform, they can always be voted out, as we've seen at the national level. Where in 2000, Ghanaians were tired of the NDC, they voted them out. NDC has come back in 2016. Everybody's tired of NDC. They're going to vote them out and bring PNC and Erimama into power. And I promise you, Mr. Nyako, you will get what you want. They will be elected, and they will be responsible to the district in which they serve. That is my comment.
Thank you. Dr. Papakwesi, same question to you, but you are reminded that if you win as president, you need your representatives at the local level to assist you cooperatively for you to be able to deliver on your mandate. If the DCE is elected and he belongs to a different party, he will sabotage you, most likely. Do you think that still electing the DCEs is a viable option?
Let me be very clear on this matter. The sort of thinking that caused you to ask that question is backward thinking. If Ghanaians are smart enough to cast a vote to elect a president, to elect a member of parliament, why are they not smart enough to cast a vote to elect their DCE, the one who lives with them? Again, through practical experience, I've been an elected assembly member. And I know what I went through and suffered under an unelected DCE. And 1/3 of the members, the dictatorship of 1/3 of the members that are appointed by somebody who doesn't know them sitting in Accra. And so development is forgotten. Let me give you an example. I am the biggest employer in KEEA, private sector. I pay the most taxes. None of the chief executives that have come in KEEA, whether MPP or NDC, has found it necessary to ask me to come for a meeting to discuss what I'm doing. When I'm commissioning an industrial center that is creating jobs, and I invite them to come to the commission, they don't show up. When we're doing anything, we apply for a license for 2 years, 3 years, it lays there. But when they need revenue, then they are quick to come to you. What I'm saying to you is that what makes America work, what makes other well-run cities work, is what we need. Johannesburg, they elected their mayors. It happens in Dakar, it happens in Abidjan, just as it happens in London and so on and so forth. They don't need, those people, the president and the mayor or the chief executive, don't need to be in the same political party. Because local needs are different from the national needs. What somebody needs in Yeji is very different from what somebody else needs in Almina. And so it is necessary, it is important, and for me it's one of the foundations that we must undertake in Ghana. And look, we have gone to John Dramani Mahama with a petition not too long ago, okay, to say, give power back to the people. He looked at the petition and said, well, I agree with you personally, but some other people must make the change happen. That is not leadership that we need. We need leadership that will grasp the problem and decide that I am responsible. Let me be the leader and make that change happen. Papa Kwesi Indo will lead so that that change happens, so that rapid, accelerated development at the local level can happen.
Yes, let's hear you, Mr. Jacob Oseyebwa.
You see, there's a caveat here. We are making us believe that when you elect, the problems are solved. If that is the case, by re-electing the president, all our problems should be solved. No, but there's something fundamental. And that is why you must make sure that the DCs has some people, leaders that they look onto within that same community. You don't need the president to be checking, but these leaders who are responsible, and I strongly believe are traditional rulers, are religious leaders, and the business community within that district can really supervise the DC and whatever thing that the DC is doing. And that is why I'm saying that doing away with corruption and so on and so forth does not come as a result of an election. No, we all know that partisanship goes in there. And to me, the situation will be worse. Because if it is in the stronghold of a particular party, they will ensure that they elect that DC, and then it will become worse. So let's think about it as a nation.
Thank you very much. Please be reminded that you have exhausted your rebuttals for this session. Yes, Dr. Edward Mahama. You have done 3. Yes.
I have 3 years because I haven't taken.
You have 2. You have 2. Mr. Jacob Osayebwa has exhausted his.
Okay, all right. I'm disagreeing with him because the Ghanaian electorate is becoming more and more savvy. And I'm sure that they understand. And any individual elected to a position that is doing what they want rather than what the people want means that he's saying that I don't want to come again for your vote. So I am confident that once we make it an elected thing, it will improve. Also, what he is saying, the other side of it is that our electorate needs to be educated. NCC has failed woefully in its duties. That is why, even at the national level, there is vote buying and rigging going on in high time because the people are deceived, and that is what I said. For lack of knowledge, the Bible says it, my people perish. That's why the Freedom of Information Act must be signed. When people are knowledgeable, they are able to make decisions in their own interests.
Thank you very much.
It's the will of God. If the people are foolish, their leaders will be foolish. Okay? And they will live with the consequences. And at the local level, when I was an assembly member, wherever I was, even if I've traveled outside the country, because I was elected, they will call me if the sewer is not working or there's trash not picked up. So electing them is important.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, to a very substantive question to you, Dr. Pakwesi, and for each one of you, we want to focus a lot more on the question of corruption. And each one will have to deal with the corruption question in this direction, including your commitment to the entire nation, whether or not you will declare your assets. You will have such declaration verified and publicized. Presently, the law does what it does is just a declaration kept in an envelope. Nobody sees it and nobody opens it up. There is in Parliament a law to ensure that the process is not only declared, it is verified, and perhaps it is publicized, as was done in the PNDC era. So, number 1, will you declare your assets? Will you have them verified? And will you have it publicized? In addition to that, on the question of corruption, after you have made that commitment, we know that the outcome of the sole commissioner for inordinate judgment debts reveals the country is hemorrhaging through reckless, deliberate acts of especially civil servants, lack of diligence, sometimes also conniving with certain individuals for their private gain. What will you do to minimize or stop the bleeding of the public purse? Dr. Indu.
Well, I'm happy you asked that question, because this is what separates the promises from the doers. Because I'm not just going to sit here and say, I will. Because I have already done it. In 2012, I declared my assets, but I also made them public, called the media, and said, here, that's my assets declaration. When I was going to Parliament, this is what I took there. When I was coming, this is what I took back. When I was going as minister, this is what I took there, and so on and so forth. I declared it. So, in 2016 also, when the Electoral Commission said that every candidate must declare their assets. Some refused, and yet they were qualified. I provided mine. If you want it today, I will give it to you. So I have made my personal commitment, and not only about that, my income tax returns. I have brought all my income tax returns since the first year I worked as an adult and made them all available. And this year also I went and paid my income taxes and showed it to the media. This is how much I made. This is how much I paid. So everybody needs to make a personal stand on corruption. It is no longer acceptable to stand somewhere and say, I'm not corrupt. I'm not corrupt. And yet refuse to do the practical things that will show people that indeed you will act on it. So my commitment is not by saying I will. I have done it, and I'll continue to do it. And when you talk about judgment debts, yes, they happen because of collusion, but they also happen because of that strange political game that we have been playing that is so dangerous, that this political party comes and finds a project and says, this project was given to somebody who belongs or is associated with the other political party. So let's find a way to cut it short or whatever. And then it is only then that the civil servants or the public servants are caught up in this act. So it begins with the politicians. And I am saying to you that I believe it begins with the professional politicians, those who have nothing else to go back and do, because they believe that they should get everything they need to get while they are there, legal or illegally. So that is why we say to people, put people there who have achieved something, who have accomplished something, not those who are going to get there and get their house, get their car, and get their factories or whatever else from our pockets. So it is important we examine who we are putting there. So we come back to the leadership matter. Leadership, competence, experience, accomplishment, they all matter.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, President Mahama didn't see as serious accepting a Ford Expedition gift from the Burkinabe businessman doing business with Ghana. For as long as we know, he asserts that he didn't personally use the car. He took it but put it into the public use for the state. Shraj affirmed his stance despite that this was in the category of prohibited gifts, both by the Shraj's own code and that of President Mahama's own code for appointees. Both codes elevate perception of corrupt conduct and conflict of interest as being equal in importance as the actual conduct. Question: how will you give demonstrable practical meaning to the fight against corruption? Will you also declare your assets, have them verified and published?
Thank you. In a democracy, is by law. And to me, whatever thing that you are doing must be within the law. If the law says that we must publicize it, that is what you have to do. You must also be very conscious of your own security and then putting out whatever thing that you have over there. So it's just an issue of just balancing what the law says and what you want to do. So far as I'm concerned, I'm prepared to do whatever thing that the law says that I should do. I'm someone who is free. My kids can go through my WhatsApp and my wife can pick up my phone and do whatever thing. I don't have anything to hide. That is me. And so, but as a leader, I have to do that which is in accordance to the law with all those security intention. Yes, when it comes to the issue of judgment, that the problem had to do with the criminal justice system.
The direct question to you, sir, is about gifts.
Yes, that is why.
Gifts that corrupt.
You see, that is why I'm saying that democracy is about the law. And as a leader, when you understand the law will dictate to you whether you have to do something or not. And as a leader, you must show the way. Just as the Siraj came out with. If it is in conflict of what the law says, as a leader, you should demonstrate not to accept it. In any case, so far as I'm concerned, such an issue can never happen to me. I know myself. In the first place, for people to discuss about it. And so, I will always operate under the remit of the law because I strongly believe in the law. And that is why I did not put up myself as a political party leader, because I respect the Constitution and the law, and I will always abide by that, if that is it. Thank you.
Sir, you have a bit of time left. You will not be breaking any law if you had your assets verified and published, even though that's not what the law says. Buhari did it. His law in Nigeria didn't prescribe that. Dr. Indo just told you he's done it. He didn't need a law to do it.
No, that is why I'm saying that I don't have any problem. But as a leader, I will do what the law says I should do. If the law says that I should publicize it, why not? When I was asked to declare it, I did it in accordance to the law. Because I respect the law. That is all what I'm saying. It's good for you to say that you want others to know whatever not. That is good. But we need to act and show leadership. Let us show leadership in accordance to the law, and let us not overdo things. That is where I stand.
How will you keep your appointees in check if you can't track what they have and what they do not have and what they are stealing when they are in government?
You see, that is why I'm saying that we need a system in place that can check corruption. And that is why I say that we need the National Electronic Data Infrastructure that will check all of these. It's important for us to have strong institutions. That is where I stand.
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Edward Mahama, right now as we speak in South Korea, the President Park, has today offered to relinquish power. Citizens, the main opposition particularly, has demanded her resignation since her friend was indicted in a fraudulent business her foundation may have received donations from. She denies the accusation of influence peddling or complicity in any way. She apologizes, but she's leaving office. Will you insist on being acquitted in an investigation, or your appointees being acquitted or exonerated by a court of law before you take action? Will you declare your assets? Will you have them verified? Will you have them publicized?
The answer is yes, yes, yes. Unlike Tobacco Zindum, who had the opportunity to go into government, become a minister where these things happen, Edward Mahama hasn't gotten there yet. But the moment I am elected, I will declare, I'll have them publicized, I'll come them verified. The issue about gifts, yes, I would not have taken that car. I've said this several times, because the perception is there that once you have taken a gift, then you are likely to favor the person. So basically, I think gifts are, especially gifts at a certain level. And as we saw, I'm wondering why the shrug said, according to its code, that was not acceptable, but yet they exonerated the president. So basically, this is where we're talking about strong institution. It is not a strong institution. If you said, according to our code, they shouldn't have done, but yet you didn't find anything wrong with it, then it's not a strong institution. Edward Mahama has said that we have to build strong institutions with systems in those institutions that work for everybody. I'm sure if this was a lower person, maybe Shrub would have been bolder. But because it's the president, they are hiding behind something to say, well, we don't find any wrongdoing. The gift caused a perception. And beyond the gift, some other contracts were given. How on earth can you say that this doesn't influence? So yes, I will not take gifts. I will declare my assets, I'll have them verified, I'll have them publicized.
And additionally, the question is, will you insist on a court acquitting your appointee, or you yourself?
I will dismiss them and turn them over to the court. I will dismiss them and turn them over to the court. And the South Korean president was also hiding behind her parliament, saying parliament must provide a way. You committed the crime, come clean and say, I resign. That's what she ought to do. That's what I would do. And that's why I think that in Ghana we don't have strong institutions. Shrag has on various occasions, I remember earlier on, relating the late PV Obeng, they again came out with some dubious findings. We need to build strong institutions. And when the institutions are strong, they will keep people in check. So basically, that is my take on it.
Thank you very much. A follow-up question to you, Dr. Indum, on this issue of corruption. You said that earlier that if you are fortunate to be voted into office on the day you are declared the president, those who have stolen money should start accounting or should start coming to pay. Will you make a commitment to the voters that if you came into power, which of the scandals that have rocked the country so far will you seek to pursue?
The question really ought to be, which ones would I not pursue? It would be all of them. You see, we're not just talking about the past 4 years. We have been in the Fourth Republic under the same constitution, with the same laws. We need to go to the beginning of the Fourth Republic, but with an independent prosecutor, and let them examine all of the acts that have happened, all of the omissions that have occurred, and let them tell us who we must pursue, and who we must pursue will be pursued vigorously. Because I will set myself aside.
Please give us examples, because there are examples that we know about that we are talking about now. We have the Smarties Bars branding issue, we have the Wyoming matters, we have several other issues that are pending. Which ones will you seek to pursue?
And I'm saying to you, all of them. All of them. Because you know, if you've been around the country as I have been, there are people who they've just dug a hole somewhere in the ground. And they're waiting, praying for rain. And when it rains, that is what they are drinking out of. That is what the sheep also come to drink out of. And they are in dire straits. And they are part of what I call forgotten Ghana. So should I look at those people and leave them and to just continue to do it, whereas just a few thousand cities can solve the problem, whereas some other people, they have taken our monies and enjoying them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Edward Mahama, yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, with this whole thing, I have a solution. As president, I'm going to have an audit of all the contracts Ghana has gone into since independence. And from that forensic audit, I will apply the causing financial laws to the state law. And this judgment debt saga that we are talking about, what they have done is now to defend and not pay the money. But some monies have already been paid from before.
So, but the audit you are talking about, how different is it from what Justice Apau did in the Judgment Debt Commission's work?
Well, it's different in that this is going to more or less prepare a docket for prosecution of those who are found to have colluded.
By law, there's a limitation period. There are certain debts you cannot go after anymore. After 3 years.
What is the statute of limitation? What is it?
That's what I just referred you to, sir.
Yeah, I'm asking how long is it?
I say in certain circumstances, after 6 years, after 3 years, you can't go after the money.
Well, we will go after those we can go after. But
you say you go as far back as independence.
Yes, because I'm not aware that there is a statute of limitation on this issue. Because if you've caught the financial loss and you are still alive, you must pay for it.
Okay, that is criminal. You can pursue that.
Yes. It's criminal, isn't it?
That is so. And that has no limitation.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Shall we please give them a round of applause for this first session of the town hall here in the Best Westin Plus Atlantic Hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go straight into the next and very final segment, and some of it also will border on the criminal justice system, foreign policy, and health, education. So I'll ask the very first question. And the first question will be taken by Dr. Edward Mahama. And this question has is a question that you must be better placed to deal with. In Ghana today, despite progress in the health sector, one baby dies every 15 minutes. The vast majority of deaths occur in the first 7 days of a baby's life. Why are newborn deaths still occurring at this rate, and what will your government put in place to reduce them rapidly?
Neonatal mortality is actually, it starts before conception. If the mother is sick with diabetes, for example, she might have a baby that may not survive the trauma of delivery. So a very good prenatal care and pre-pregnancy counseling is what we need to introduce into our system. That's why in my clinic, my private clinic, we run a program called Superior Family School. Family school because we want young ladies who want to have children to plan it. Don't get it by accident. God has given us the ability now to control this thing. So when you get it by accident and you're not prepared psychologically, financially, emotionally, then you have a baby that's likely to die in those 7 days of early life. So basically, let's go to prenatal care and accessibility. One of the problems is that there are rural areas where there are no CHIPS compounds, or there are no hospitals, no district hospitals. Those areas still contribute to the infant or neonatal mortality that we are talking about. So making medical antenatal care accessible to all Ghanaian women is one of the first things to do. And also, as I said, with very good prenatal care, if they are anemic and it's corrected, both mother and baby can be saved during delivery. Otherwise, you end up losing both of them. So nutrition has something to do with it. And the poverty in the system also contributes to this neonatal mortality, because a malnourished woman is likely to have a baby that is likely to die. Malaria is still a problem contributing to this neonatal death. And the malaria, the insecticide-treated mosquito nets, they are making a contribution, but not wide enough. So you need to push that program so that most pregnant women will be able to access good care. Some of the patients are still in the habit of not coming to the clinic. You know, maybe they delivered once or twice and they think they are experts. So they will wait till they come into labor, and sometimes they come in with a baby that is already compromised, or the water breaks, and they sit at home thinking it's normal out of ignorance. So education is part of it. So good prenatal care, good pre-pregnancy care, counseling, nutrition for the mothers, all will help us reduce the mortality.
The quick follow-up question to you will be, you're talking about, for example, having the CHIPS compounds, you need nurses to man all of these. It is money. We are aware how government has had difficulty employing nurses even though they have graduated. And they cannot go to the public sector, they cannot also go to the private sector because they have been bonded. It is just a couple of weeks ago that we got the information that government has now given clearance for about, is it 8,000 of them to be employed.
So they can get the votes. Those people should know it's for voting purposes. Ghana is a rich country, and this problem of not being able to pay our professionals in the face of these high mortality rates that we deal with, whether maternal, infant, or even lifespan. The average Ghanaian, the average Cuban lives longer, maybe 25 years longer than the average Ghanaian. And Cuba has nothing but sugar cane. We have everything, and they're supplying doctors to us. It's a shame. It's an outright shame for us to have this amount of wealth and we can't manage our affairs. When you talk about money, it's because they're spending the money buying four-wheel drives. They're spending the money on mobile phones. They're spending the money on things that are not important or helpful to the majority of people. Only the big men have access to it. That will change, and it has to change, beginning with Edward Mahama.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jacob Osoyebwa, a child must not die every 15 minutes. How are you going to stop that?
Thank you. First, our colleague doctor just mentioned that malaria is a great contributor. And so we always have to get to the root cause of the causative agent of malaria by ensuring that our gutters are covered, we don't have stagnant waters. By so doing, we will be actually helping this. Aside that, just as you also mentioned, education is very, very important, and especially the localities of these mothers. Sometimes, some of them, when they are in labor, the kind of roads that they have to be traveled on is also equally very bad, and that one alone can endanger them. One of the things that we are saying that we do is that within 5 kilometers, there must be a CHIP compound, so that those within the rural areas could be solved. The issue has to do with financing, but as a government and with the policy that we have in place, once we are able to create wealth, then some of these problems could and can easily be resolved. It is just very bad that when you invest in training, you see, training teachers and nurses, they are different from the kind of SHS schools that we go. Once you've invested in them, you must make sure that after training, if they don't have vacancy, there must even be some little allowance to be given to them. Because if you've had money to train them, then you must make sure that immediately after the training, they must have that job opportunity. There are several ways that we can just resolve this nursing issue. And so, to me, the most important thing is we, as a government, setting out that priority in making sure that this prenatal care is actually addressed holistically. Thank you.
So you do think that having CHIP compounds is one of the solutions? The current government and its appointees have dedicated 10% of their salaries to building CHIP compounds. They have put several of them in many parts of this country. The problem persists.
You see, it's one of the solutions. You cannot, normally when problems come like that, it comes in different dimensions. And so it's one of them. And the other one is the road. The other one is also the education. It's very important. They are all interconnected. And so you need to solve one after the other.
Thank you. Dr. Papakwesi, what will be your solution to ending a baby dying every 15 minutes? That's scandalous.
It is important that we go to the top. When I say we go to the top, we have these detailed, specific problems real problems, as you mentioned, scandalous problems. But then our considered policy as a political party, PPP, is we've taken a look at what is it that should be our social policy. And number one and number two. Number one is education. That is to ensure that every child gets educated compulsorily. It's compulsory from kindergarten to the end of senior high school, because our studies have shown to us that the more educated the people are, whether it's a man or a woman, the less in that society, the fewer neonatal deaths that occur, and so on and so forth. And so, number one, it's education. But number two, we say, when we come to the broader health sector, it is prevention. That is, so we say it is the diseases that are preventable that we want to solve. Because when we are able to solve those, then all of those things that cause, the immediate causes, we attack them. So malaria, and so cholera, and so HIV/AIDS, and so monococcal meningitis, and so on and so forth. Those items that can be dealt with, and our studies have also shown, and anyone who is interested, we have a paper on this, a considered researched paper on this matter, on how we will implement this matter of eliminating preventable diseases in Ghana. And if you go, you will know that in America they used to have malaria. They used to have malaria in Germany, and so on and so forth, but those things are not there. There's a reason why they are not there. And so instead of focusing on those structures, CHIPS compound, fancy hospital in Accra, and so on and so forth, we are saying those things that we can do to prevent these preventable diseases from attacking us. And as an employer, what is it that makes me lose productivity? It is those same things. Those same things are also causing these deaths of the unborn children and even the ones that are born. And so that is where we sit. That is our policy. That is what we would attack. And as I mentioned earlier, we've done a study on this. We have come up with a calculation on how much money it will require, and so on and so forth. So that is our policy. That is how we will deal with it.
Dr. Indum, you have mentioned that you will pay premium on education. So let's take this question on education. The education sector is at a crisis point. Ghana puts in one of the highest proportions of its budget into the sector, but the results we get are some of the worst in the world. Clearly, Ghana's education system is extremely inefficient. If you agree, what do you see as the main inefficiency or the challenges in the sector, and what are you going to do to effectively resolve the situation by improving learning, particularly for the most disadvantaged?
Well, once again, this is one of our foundation policy areas where we have prepared a paper, which the first one came up in 2012, and we have revised it subsequently. And it starts with the same thing I've said before: free, compulsory, continuous education from kindergarten to the end of senior high school. And we redefine basic school. The basic school does not end junior high school. Basic school ends at the end of senior high school. And we've calculated how much money will be required. And the emphasis, though, is on quality. Quality. And I must make it very clear that we do have a constitution. That constitution says free, compulsory education. It gave us 2 years breathing space to do the preparation work. And then it said it has given you a further 10 years to get ready. All of those years have passed by. So why would Nana Akufo-Addo say free SHS? But if you don't pass to go past JHS, how do you enjoy free SHS? It's an elitist policy. And then most of our children even don't go to school. And especially, we are here in Western region. Western region, Central region, most of them don't go to school. Many of the best schools in Ghana are in these two regions. So there's a policy we must implement that puts the word compulsory in there. John Dramani Mahama also is treating the Constitution like a supermarket. Today I want chicken, tomorrow I want fish. You can't take an essential matter like education, where if you go to chapter 6 of the Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, it says this is what you must do. And you decide that, oh, progressively free, expanding access. Whose child? Whose child must stay at home, be uneducated, become disease infected, and be illiterate, and suffer maybe an early death because of poverty? So I am saying to you that our education policy, there is no compromising. And that is why we have spent considerable amount of time to detail this. Because there are some people in this country who, I don't know, they say, well, when you say free, then it must be some communistic something. But America is not a communist country, but there's compulsory education, and it is free. I have been there, spent 1 year in high school in America. They put you in a bus to go to school. You go to school, all the books are there. They give you a lunch. You have medical health screening in school, and so on and so forth. But here, poor people in Ghana, somebody says, go home and bring chalk, go home and bring books, go home and bring a desk. Why? We can't wallow in poverty because of ignorance, because of illiteracy. So for me, that is, and for our party, Progressive People's Party, this is number one.
Thank you. A quick follow-up, sir. You say that the president or the current government says progressively free, and you're asking whose child must wait. Is the question really not about money again?
Absolutely not. This is not a money issue. If we're going to decide to spend money on something, I will not spend on a flyover in Accra and leave a child in Zahari, or leave a child in Chichai, or a child in Germany, and leave them to become ignorant and illiterate. It's a matter of priorities. The money is there. The money that caused guinea fowls to fly to other countries. That money, if that money was on the table, imagine how many children, and we don't know what those children are going to become like. I say to you, I am from Elmina, a fishing town. If it wasn't for education, where would I be? Where would I be? So that issue, compulsory, continuous education from kindergarten to the end of senior high school, there is no compromising on that. That is what will make us a competitive nation. That is what will make us healthy and prosperous.
Mr. Jacob Osei, well, what do you see to be the main problem? Sorry, Dr. Eben Mahama, you have your hand up. If you are calling for a rebuttal, you have that.
Yes, basically, this issue, he talked about quality, and I want to say that yes, the illiteracy rate in Ghana is unacceptably high, so far as I'm concerned. That is why in 2005, at my own cost, I took another Ghanaian academic and we went to Cuba. Why? The United Nations published that Cuba eradicated illiteracy in 2 years. And we went there, we talked to the people who were in charge of the program, and I came back and told Ghanaians, vote me, I will eradicate illiteracy. I didn't get it. I'm still offering that opportunity because I have the notebooks to eradicate illiteracy. Illiteracy is part of the reason why people in Ghana are suffering unnecessarily. The other day I went to a town in the eastern region, the water they are drinking, you will even give that to your pigs, believe you me. And I was very upset with the nation.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osei, what do you diagnose to be the real major problems with the education system, and how will you go about resolving them?
First and foremost, our education should help us to resolve the problems that we have as a nation. As a child born from Zongo, I have experienced a kind of education from those days as compared to now. What I've realized first and foremost in solving the education, what we have stated in our destiny is, first and foremost, we will ensure that the management of our schools, especially from the missionaries, we will allow the missionaries who established those schools to manage them, because education without morality is what all of us are experiencing in this nation. The second thing is the curriculum. It will interest you to know that the curriculum that we have was actually given to us by another country. And for that matter, the output of our education rather serves that country better than even Ghana. And that is why, after completing school, when somebody finds himself either in the UK or in the US, the person begins to perform better. And that is why we have stated that as part of the ministry restructuring, we will ensure that we merge education with industry, so that the output of our education will feed into our industry that is serving us. And what we're also going to establish is the fact that we have the researchers to bridge the gap between our education and then industry. And also, we're also going to establish the Bureau of Curriculum Research. And this Bureau of Curriculum Research will ensure that our curriculum actually meets the needs of Ghana, not another country. And we're also going to ensure that we establish what we call the Educational Commission. These will ensure that whether 3 years or 4 years, they will determine what is important. And then again, we are saying that in our education, from the German system, they have what they call the Educational Jury Commission, so that they can subpoena a practitioner to go back to the academia and share with the students the kind of experiences that he or she is getting on the field. But so it reinforces the practicality of whatever thing that is happening within the industries. These are the things that we will put in place in order to better our educational system.
Thank you very much. We will be taking a question from Che Kojo Yamwa. But before that, your substantive answer to the question asked about education.
Basically, he started to campaign for me on my new beginnings without knowing it. He said the educational system handed over to us served another country better. He was shy to say that it's colonial. And that is what my new beginning is going to deal with, because I have said that all the government machinery we have now was handed over to us by our colonial masters. And we've never looked at it and say, is this cost effective? Are we getting value for money by keeping all these ministries in the shape and form they are? I say no. PNC is saying that we need to restructure the whole thing. That is the new beginning. So that what we are producing now will be what we want as an independent, sovereign African nation. Not doing things because they were handed down to us. So basically, my educational policy, the two areas that I want to make the difference is, one, I've already said it, that basically we want to introduce a subject called thinking, so that Ghanaians will think about what they have, what they can do with it, how to do things that they need to get done, not go and call experts from another country. Second, I've said it, counselors, because a lot of our children, they come from families where the mother didn't go to school, the father didn't go to school. He's going to school, but he doesn't even know what he's going to do. He hasn't seen any role model that he says, I want to be an accountant or a pilot. He's just going to school. And so at the end of the school, he doesn't know what to do. If on day one of arriving at the JSS, a counselor will take time and counsel each child. The counselor is trained, mind you, to be able to identify gifts in these children as he's counseling and talking to them. He may then say, oh, from what you are telling me about how you play at home with toys, making things, you may be an engineer. Therefore, take courses or subjects that will lead you to that field. So at every level, even at the university level, people enter university and they go and take a course like psychology or sociology. These are important courses if you want to be somebody who is in this counseling business I'm talking about. But if you want to be an accountant, that is not the course you go and do. If you want to be a computer programmer, that's not the course you go and do. So, two things: thinking counselors, and the children will be counseled so that they will then know which industry they're going to work for. He said it already, the linkages, linking our education to our needs. That's what needs to be done.
Thank you. We have two more substantive questions, and one will be asked by the program's manager, Friends of the Nation, Che Kojo Yamwa. Let's have your question.
Thank you very much. My question is on small-scale mining, and the preamble reads, small-scale mining activities have maintained an important sector of our local economy, employing over 1 million people and contributing to 34% of total gold production, especially in 2014. Unfortunately, effort towards formalization of the sector has been slow, leading to widespread degradation of the environment, water bodies, forestry, farmlands, and also some human settlements especially have been affected by illegal operations. The question therefore is, what key policies and actions would your government pursue to enhance the formalization of the small-scale gold mining sector to contribute to positive development outcomes in the national economy and the local mining communities? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edward Mahama. That question goes to you first. You had a rebuttal. Okay, please take it. Please don't forget the question. Yes, let's have your rebuttal.
Because Dr. Mahama talked about if you do psychology, sociology, you know, maybe in Ghana they start you off with something right from junior high school and you stick to it, good or bad. But when you do psychology, which I did, when you do sociology, which I did, but I also did physics, and I did all of those kinds of things, all of them together make me a better thinking person, just as you were suggesting. So I just want to make sure that, let's be clear. My daughter is a medical doctor, but she started with psychology. She did theater. It opened her mind, and she's where she is. And so I don't want to discourage anybody out there who is doing psychology or sociology that you can't do something else. And so I just want to be clear about that.
Thank you.
Yes, his daughter is using her psychology in medicine. Very good. I'm sure she had a counselor who said, with this and that, you can go into medicine. That is the point that I'm making. But coming back to the issue of small-scale mining, I think it's an important aspect of our industry. What is lacking, in my view, is that, like many other things, these small-scale miners have seen government not as a partner, but as an enemy. Because they harass them, and they go there, and when they are going, they hide. No. Our government will see them as partners, and sit down with them, and help them to do it in an environmentally friendly way, and help them with equipment, technology, finance, so that they are doing it in the proper way, and it will be a tax asset. They'll be paying taxes. But at the moment, everywhere you go, the small-scale miners, when they see government approaching, they run into the bush, or sometimes they fight. The other area that we will be very strict on is that even foreigners have gotten involved. The other day I was at Dunkornofin, and I saw that town is almost becoming, there's a portion of it that is almost becoming Chinese. Now, I love Chinese, but they are helping our people to do this small-scale mining in a way that is devastating our environment. I'll take a strict view of that. You can come, but do things properly. And that is why I'm saying that because we are not helping our own indigents, the foreigners can take advantage of them. But when we are helping them and they know that they can come to my government and get the support to do it properly. Then we're going to the Chinese who are also exploiting them. So basically, this is going to be my solution. Sit down with them, even if you can merge them into bigger companies, so they can be competitive worldwide. But otherwise, our attitude as government in Ghana is always, I know better because I'm on this side of the desk, you are nobody. That's why when you write a letter to any government ministry, he was saying it. Once permits to do things, he applies, nobody bothers. They won't even acknowledge receipt of the letter. So this is the problem with the small-scale miners. And I'm saying that they should all vote Edward Mahama because I'm going to be a partner, I'm going to help you and lift up your business to a level where you become somebody who is paying taxes, somebody who is paying social security for your employees, and everybody will be happy. And also we can protect our environment because now you have government support to do it properly.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from Mr. Jacob Osei Yeboah. And as you heard, 2014, this small-scale mining, 1 million people took part, were employed, and they contributed 34% of gold production in Ghana. But we also are aware of the dangers of the galamsey that comes out of that and what it is doing to our water bodies and environment.
Thank you very much. As someone who has worked in the mining firm before, the problem with the small-scale mining is in two folds. First is technical capacity building, and then financial capacity building. And then again, looking at the laws, how we define small-scale mining, medium-scale mining, and large-scale mining, and the laws involved. Because there are risks. Currently, it's very difficult for one to distinguish between the illegal mining and then the licensed small-scale mining, because the methods that both of them are using are the same. And so there's the need for us to refine the laws. And so far as I'm concerned, based on a lecture that I gave a solution at Takoradi School of Mines, what we need to do is this categorization. We can say that you can mine up to this level where we can actually classify you as a small-scale miner. And we can avoid using mercury, because mercury is a poisonous substance that when it comes to your environment, it evaporates and gets back into the food chain, and it can cause all sorts of things. And so we can actually mine without using mercury, and I've done some research with other companies that we can have planned to do that. Secondly, we have to make sure that we have funds available, because mining is capital intensive. I have developed a business plan which actually stipulates how we can actually help our indigents to go into small-scale mining profitably and with a technical know-how. The other issues have to also do with the communities. First and foremost, we can structure it in such a way that these small-scale miners will become responsible, in the sense that once we build the financial capacity, we can have a system of taxing them, and then making sure that a part of the royalty goes back to the communities that they are operating, and so that the community can also lift themselves up. Again, it can also serve as a source of employment. I've also suggested that just as we have the agric extension officers, we can also have mining extension officers for our graduates from Takoradi School of Mines, whereby we can assign each one of them to over 20,000 small-scale mining sites, which they can actually help them to be able to mine responsibly and then save the environment. And again, we can have a reclamation program in place once these funds are available. It needs a conscious effort from the government and all of us concerned, and then we'll be able to move it forward.
Thank you. Dr. Indu.
This is the problem I have. My colleagues are talking nicely. They say small-scale mining. They should say galamsey. They should say galamsey, because that is what we know is a problem. Then My friend Dr. Mahama says he went somewhere, he saw some Chinese, and he's talking once again diplomatically. There is no diplomacy here. You know, there's a menace. And the menace is led by Chinese. And as we all, I have Chinese friends, I love them. But they will not allow me to go to their country to do what some of them are doing here. So why? Who opened the doors? Chinese is not like a Liberian. If he's coming here, we must know that this person doesn't belong here. So why is he here? What is the purpose? What did he come in to do? So how did they get through our borders to not just go to Accra, but to end up in Obuasi, in Dunko, in Chichire, everywhere? They are there. And some of them are carrying AK-47s. I've seen them. Okay, they are doing illegal things. And they are being aided and abetted by our own people. And where is the government? Where is the leadership? Where is John Dramani Mahama? While all of these things are going on in this country, it's a big menace. So let's call it what it is. It is that Galamsey. So I am saying to you, Papa Kwesi Indo becomes president. January 2017. All of those people, they are going away. They are going away. It is important. So let's set some steps in place. Then number two, you know, we have these young men and women. They are not just foolish or, you know, and going out there risking their lives because there's nothing else to do. So we must provide an employment opportunity for them. Like we're mining gold, they see this gold going somewhere else, and there's no jobs, no refineries. We used to have goldsmiths. Nobody is doing any of those kinds of things, and they are going hungry. So we must provide that alternative employment opportunities. And remember, we are creating some of those things right here in the Western region, in the oil and gas area. They see foreigners doing all sorts of things, getting the money, the oil and gas is going away. Where is the petrochemicals industry? Where are the jobs that these people can do? Illiteracy and so on and so forth has led to some of this, but we must take care of it. And then I agree with you, Dr. Mahama, that we must have a concentrated, focused policy on how we should formalize this, make the job less dangerous, figure out where they should go and do this, and so they can earn a proper living.
Thank you very much. We've run out of time. If you may allow, let's take a minute each to respond to this very final questioning, so we don't take 3 minutes to do that. And it's in twofold. And I don't want us to get out of here without getting your minds and views about them. Number one, I've heard Dr. Indum, I'm not too sure about Dr. Edward Mahama. I've heard you criticize the reception of the state of the Guantanamo Bay II to the country. Question, we have international obligations, we have diplomatic obligations, we have relationships to keep. How differently would you have handled that situation? And two, would you have pardoned the infamous Moutier 3? Dr. Indom, start with you.
The Guantanamo Bay, is it 2 or 3 or
2 detainees?
Yes. The point is that they didn't belong here. They don't belong here. What foreign policy were we following? I said it very clearly, Ghana first. Ghana first, what meets our interests is what we will do. And for me, they don't belong here. Number two, pardoning the people. You see, we have had a history in this country where some people had agitated. Some judges and a military officer lost their lives under hideous conditions. And when people threaten members of the judiciary, it is not a matter for partisan politics. It is not a matter we joke with. It is my life, it is your life. And so whoever is sent there, they must understand that they've done something wrong. No pardoning.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osewa, how differently would you have handled the first situation in the Guantanamo Bay detainees, and would you have pardoned the Muntie 3? Do you think that compromises the justice system?
First and foremost, I think where our leadership went wrong with the Guantanamo Bay was how open he was with the issue. Because all powers, okay, of the leadership comes from us, we the Ghanaians. And so there should have been some consultation, and we, as a nation, we should have arrived at consensus before doing that. But that is not to say that their presence in Ghana was actually a security risk. It could be debated from different angles. And much is also dependent on our foreign policy as at that time. And that is how I see it. The Muntie 3, it's so sad in this country that anybody at all, you say that you did it. When you make noise, that is when you get justice. But if you are quiet, you don't get the right justice. And it's so sad that the Muntie 3 ended that way.
Dr. Mahama.
The Guantanamo Bay 2, I think, shattered our foreign policy position since independence. It's been one of non-aligned. Then it was between Russia and America. Now it's between America and the Arabs, or America and China. We have always maintained a position of non-aligned, so I think it was wrong to receive them. The Muntie 3, I think it was unfortunate because they should not have been pardoned. I would not have done it, considering the fact that our present problem with the judiciary stems from the murder of the judges. And I think that for anybody reminding us of that incident and the president pardoning them or that person, it's wrong, morally wrong.
Gentlemen, shall we now have your closing remarks in 2 minutes, starting with Dr. Mahama?
Well, fellow Ghanaians, thank you very much for listening to me. I've come to you on 2 occasions, offering myself to serve you, not to lord it over you, to be a steward, not the owner of your resources, to be somebody who has a listening ear. Remember, I'm a doctor. I listen all the time, and I give treatment. Ghana is sick from economic diabetes. I will treat it. I have been running for president. This is going to be the 5th time. It isn't because I don't have anything to do. In fact, I thank God very much because I am blessed. I am blessed. I'm a doctor. In this room, there is a young man who boldly told me the other day, my mama said you delivered me. He has a beard now. I don't have a beard anymore. That is a blessing to bring somebody up who is contributing to Ghana. So I want to remind you listeners out there, this is my 5th time. God reserved me for this time. Having chosen J.J. Rawlings, J. Kufuor, and myself in 1996. Gave it to Rawlings that year. 2000 gave it to J. Kufuor, and reserved me for this time when you are confused, when you are frightened about the outcome of the election. I'm the peace candidate. I am number 6. The number 6 is divine. Divine in the sense that we got our independence 6th March 1957. Divine in the sense that when you take any Ghana currency, you see 6 people's faces on it. They are the big 6. They founded modern Ghana, and they from their grave are endorsing me for the presidency. God created everything in 6 days. On the 7th day, God rested. But on the 6th day, he created the most precious of his possessions, man, and said, take dominion.
Thank you.
Give me Ghana to take dominion.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob Osayebwa.
Thank you once again, fellow Ghanaians. What I really want to share with you is that leadership exists in order to solve problems. Partisan leadership by itself is part of the problems that all of us are facing. And that is why continually from 1992 to date, our country is getting worse. All our value system are being destroyed by partisan politics. Your traditional leaders are insulted, your religious leaders are insulted, and businesses, the economy are destroyed because of partisanship. And so going back to vote for political party system is endorsing the continual insulting of your traditional leaders and your religious leaders and the destruction of businesses, just like Akoko Dakon's one was done. I stand as a unity government leader. And honestly, when you go and research on 29th of December 2014, Cardinal Jackson, when he visited Ghana, made a comment, and that comment alone is an endorsement of Jacob Osei-Yeboah. What he said was that Ghana needs a unity government and Ghana needs a technocrat. I stand here as a technocrat and understand the very problems that Ghana is actually facing. What we need as a people is a government of national unity, so that we don't see ourselves as people from different ethnic backgrounds to destroy ourselves, but we see ourselves as an opportunity to create wealth, just as I've redefined in our policy statement. Ghana needs a leader like Jacob Osei-Yeboah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Papakwesi Indu.
Let me first thank the IEA for the opportunity. I believe it is important, if you want to lead, to offer yourself to be examined, because our lives, our experiences, what we have done before requires examination by the people so they can select who amongst those who have offered themselves is the best. And I believe that by the grace of God, with education, practical experience, the competence that I have achieved doing positive things in the private sector, creating jobs in every district in this country, and providing positive results as a minister of state, I have gotten what it needs to lead this nation, to make it united, to bring inclusiveness, to ensure that we use the tremendous resources that God has given us to benefit Ghanaians with a Ghana First policy. And here we sit in the Western region, where all of the resources of Ghana are here. Gold, timber, manganese, bauxite, oil and gas. You put a seed on the ground, it sprouts up, it grows. The Western region deserves better than what it is getting now. Papa Kwesi Indom will deliver that benefit to the people of the Western region. And the scourge of tribalism, of partisanship that is killing our nation, the Progressive People's Party will deal with that situation. I am now for on the ballot, wearing the same kente I'm wearing here right now. And as many people as I go out in the country, they know that everybody is looking for jobs. And there's only one person in Ghana. When he goes to the north, they call him Tumalana. Goes to the Volta region, they say Edoto. When I come to Takoradi, they say Ejimura. That's Papa Kwesi.
Thank you very much. Shall we please acknowledge them? Shall we be upstanding and give them a round of applause? The distinguished presidential candidates, let's acknowledge them. Gentlemen, shall we also have you demonstrate the unity you have spoken about by holding each other's hand and lifting it up? Dr. Papa Kwesi Indom, Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, and Dr. Edward Mahama. Shall we have you hold each other's hand and lift it up to show that all of us, that you are very, very united and that you mean business when you say we should all be united. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And thank you for all our media partners. Please, shall we be seated? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samson Ladi Ayinene, our moderator for tonight. May I now invite the chairman of the 2016 Presidential Debate Committee, Professor Kwenyehia, to give us the closing remarks.
Distinguished presidential candidates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have explored a wide range of subjects here. We have heard the various answers that our aspirants have given. I think for each of us, there was a moment that we said, no, we should all vote for this guy because we believe in what he's doing and what he's saying. The IA's hope is that these various ideas, policies, possible policies I should say, that have emerged here will be subjected to further debate as we move towards December 7th. And come December 7th, all of us would have been wiser in making informed choices as to who to lead us. On behalf of the IAA and the Presidential Debate Committee, I wish to express our sincere gratitude to the presidential aspirants for being with us here, for taking time off their busy schedules and sharing their visions with us. For our guests here at the Best Western Plus Atlantic Hotel, and to all viewers and listeners who tuned in for this town hall, thank you very much for joining us. We hope in the near future, when we have other activities, you will join us. Until then, have a good night, and may God continue to bless our dear country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Justice Equia Kwenyenya, the chairman of the IEA 2016 Presidential Debates Committee. I now respectfully call on Bishop Bonaventure Kofi, Catholic Bishop of the Western Region, to offer the closing prayer.
May we rise. We thank you, God, for allowing us this wonderful opportunity to listen to our aspirants. We thank you, God, for the gift of wisdom, that you allowed wisdom to work with them. We thank you, God, for what they can do for us. We ask you to bless them and bless all who are doing something you have designed to help our nation move forward. As we go out from here, we ask you to bless everything we have done here, bless the organizers of this event. Let them move on to achieve what you want them to achieve for this country. We ask you to give us a good night's rest. Let us wake up tomorrow morning renewed in energy to do what you have entrusted to us. We pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of the IEA 2016 Presidential Town Hall. Hopefully, we may be meeting some of you in the next 4 years, and we pray that the best candidate emerges the president of our land. Thank you and have a good night. Thank you very much. May we have a wonderful night. We have to remind you that a media pull-out center has been made available outside the auditorium for the benefit of the political parties, your executives,